The 1v1 interview series is a production of the Boss Rush network of podcasts. Visit bossrush.net to listen to our podcast and read our articles, game reviews, and more. You can also follow us on Twitter at Boss Rush Network to stay up to date with our content. Thank you for listening. Hello everyone, and welcome to 1v1 with the Boss Rush Network. I'm your host, Celeste Roberts. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Carlos Gomez, a blog writer and contributor to Another Zelda Podcast. Hey Carlos, thanks for being here today.
Hey, how you doing, Celeste?
I'm good. I'm so happy I can finally interview you. I've had you on my list, which sounds kind of ominous when I say it like that.
I'm a little scared.
I have had you on my list of people to interview for a long time, but you're just recently returning to your home.
Just within the last year or so, I finally got back to the States. So I know I was sort of far away and it was hard for us to sort of link up, but I'm really excited now that we are able to.
Yes, and if you're watching this on YouTube, Carlos is repping his Another Zelda Podcast shirt. Look at that. He's ready to walk the runway, I think.
I've been practicing all weekend.
Well, how are you doing today? It's Sunday. It's usually a pretty relaxing day. How are you doing?
No, I'm doing really good. I actually just recently picked up a puppy, and so I'm totally going through the process of getting to know my new little family friend, and so that's pretty exciting.
Okay, you got to tell us all the details about the puppy.
Well, so the puppy is a miniature schnauzer, and apparently her original owners weren't able to continue to maintain her. There's some issues going on in the family. You know how that goes. And so I've thrown my name in the hat as perhaps a landing spot. And then someone else actually got her. And then come to find out, like 48 hours later, that she wasn't the right fit for their family either. And so I definitely said that I would be there to give her forever home and include her in my family. So super exciting.
So what kind of puppy is she?
A miniature schnauzer. Basically back in the day they were used to hunt rats. She has like a little tufted like face, like a little, almost looks like a Scotty if you're familiar with what.
Yeah,
Looks similar.
yeah,
They have like
those
the
little
face.
cookies. Yes. And in I think 101 Dalmatians, you can see a little Schnauzer or Scotty.
Yeah, something like that. But she her breed, I guess, originates in Germany. Yeah.
Okay. And what's her name?
She doesn't have one yet. So she had one with them, and it was some interesting, unique, yet probably not very applicable to my life name. But I'm actually going to surprise my son when I take my trip next week home, and so she's going to be surprised.
That's going to be so exciting. I bet you're excited to see your son and then show him your new little family member.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and to me, pets are family. So, and I had the opportunity to give a home.
I love animals. Is this your first dog you've ever had?
No. I mean, I've had dogs ever since I was a kid. I grew up with Rottweilers, mutts, you name it. If I had a chance to have a puppy in my life or a dog in my life, I was all about it. And then most recently, a couple months ago, my Doberman, he passed away. So the house has definitely, been waiting for a new addition. Can't replace him, but a new addition, and obviously helping her out and giving her a place to stay is what we're all about.
Oh, I'm really sorry for the loss of your Doberman, and I'm excited that this new little one has such a loving home to go into. And you've been very busy. You just returned to the States. You're relocating pretty soon. I don't know how you sleep.
I take my moments when I can get them. Yeah, it's been pretty busy. I live in San Diego currently. and just with the way the market is and everything, I thought here was my chance to sell our home. So we did, and then we wanted to maybe land somewhere that was a little more nature oriented, maybe a little bit different of a pace as I transition careers, and so we settled on Wyoming. We took a lot of trips there. It's not like we just jumped in the bucket, but took a lot of trips there, and it's a beautiful place, kind people, and I'm definitely excited to become a part of their community.
What are your favorite things about Wyoming? If you had to break it down to your top three favorite things.
Well, I guess number one would be nature. It's all around you. It's not like here in Southern California, which is wonderful, but you sort of have to search for the nature. There, you walk right out your door, and it's right there with you. Less traffic. Oh my goodness. Even on a busy day, there isn't that much traffic, and then the people are actually extremely kind, polite. Everyone opens doors for each other. Everyone says please and thank you. And that's obviously the kind of place that anyone should want to be a part of.
Oh, I agree with that. I'm kind of spoiled to a really good community where I live. And, I've toyed with the idea, oh, maybe we should move, maybe we should leave. You never know where life's going to take you, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
I think, I think it's the people who make the place, if that makes sense.
No, I completely agree. And I think that's something that's really important. If you move to a place that has sort of a certain vibe, I think it's important to partake in that vibe or to become a part of it. You know,
I
build help.
agree. And I think you've added to the vibe of Another Zelda podcast extremely well. And I don't think a lot of people have had the opportunity to get to know you because you joined, I want to say, was it 2019, right?
Somewhere around there. I know it was, well, it felt to me early on. Maybe it's just because I was just joining, but it felt like it was sort of early on. I was writing a blog for another website that I don't think it exists anymore, and I'm not sure if it was David or someone from AZP had commented in one of the blog posts, and I'd made sort of a joke of, well, if you need a writer, here's a guy for you. And then getting picked up, I sent, some of the stuff I'd done, and, I guess it made the mark, and here I am, part of the team.
We're so happy to have you. And I don't get to interact with you very often except through text messages and emails. Oh, and social media as well. And you're very hilarious.
Thank you.
Another Zelda podcast tries to be very family friendly, but Carlos and I find, share a very similar sense of humor that we can send each other certain memes and get a laugh. And that's always very nice. Actually, the first time I met him, I was having internet issues. So poor Carlos was so patient and so kind. And I made a Helen Keller joke that night. And he was very receptive to it.
Well, I find that you should be able to laugh at things. I think laughter diffuses tension. Laughter maybe takes subjects or thought processes that are maybe a little bit difficult to digest in a serious manner and sort of makes them palatable. And so I think it's very important to be able to laugh at things. But I also sort of know my crowd, obviously. AZP, we want to make sure that we're, for the whole family. And, it's just knowing your crowd, knowing, if I walk into a school, I'm not going to make the same jokes I would make, at the construction site or something if I was working there or whatever.
Oh, yes. It's funny you say that. I used to work in the oil and gas industry, and that's a completely different crowd than other industries I've worked in. And so, what can you tell us about yourself? So, obviously, you like video games, obviously, you like Zelda, but do you have any other hobbies, or would you like to share your career path or your ambitions with the listeners?
Sure. So I guess getting into what I'm into first, I love to write, obviously, hence, writing for the blog for the podcast. But I just like to write in general. I find that we all need a creative outlet. We all need a way to express ourselves that maybe in the day to day, we can't. And for me, writing is, I like to write fantasy, sci-fi, not published, not anything like that, but I turn my feelings, my emotions, my thoughts, and I try to add a creative universe to them. And so maybe I guess retell how I feel or retell what I'm thinking through a story. Um, I also like to hike, hence, moving to Wyoming. I love nature, and any chance I get to be out and smell trees or see a lake or just experience the world around me, I'm all about it. Career-wise, currently I'm getting really close to transitioning out of the military. Been in the Navy for almost 21 years, and in that field, I did a lot of medicine kind of stuff, and now I'm looking forward to transitioning to something different.
Well, I've probably told you before, but thank you for your service. That's a field and a lifestyle I've never been a part of, but I have some family members who have been a part of it, and I don't think people realize how much you all do.
Well, first, I always get a little bashful when people say thank you, but I think it's just because I'm grateful for your support. We're all grateful for your support, and honestly, the hard part I think is for the family. Because they are the ones who have to deal with us going away or being gone. There's a lot of moms and dads that are out and around the world while their families are without them. So I think that's the hard part. Other than that, I mean, we all have jobs, we all have careers, we all contribute to our society in one shape or another. But I'm definitely ready to move on to something different. That's for sure.
I know. And you had reached out to me a few times because you're interested in pursuing an English degree. And I believe you just completed your program, correct?
Yeah, so I just finished last year my bachelor's in English, and so now I have this bachelor's. Now I'm transitioning out of the military, and so obviously I'm definitely open and interested to any field where I can sort of use that expertise or contribute to a team somewhere. Um, that's sort of my thing, being a part of a team and contributing. That's what I'm all about.
And I don't think a lot of listeners, so if you're listening and you're a fan of Another Zelda podcast, I want you to know that I would reach out to the team or David would, and we'd say, hey, can you provide a recording for this quiz episode? Can you provide a recording for spooky spots? And Carlos would be a little quiet. So I was like, oh, maybe he doesn't have reception, but I still want him to know that he's part of the team. I want him to be aware of what's going on because he was, I don't know what the time zone difference was, Carlos, but I think it was maybe daytime over there when it was nighttime over here.
It was around 16 to 18 hours difference.
Yes. So I was kind of worried, like, oh, I hope Carlos knows that he's still involved. He would have his recording, he would have his blog post ready when they were scheduled, and that made me so happy to know that he was first of all receiving the message and could be a part of whatever we were doing. And it kind of felt like he was still there. He was with us. He was with the team.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because that time difference did make a huge difference. So by the time I was caught up to the conversation, you guys had already had it, yesterday. And so, I didn't want to add in. Sometimes if there's a lot of people on a strand or a communication, things can get muddled or there can be some confusion. And so instead of adding to the confusion, I just thought I would add to the deliverables and make sure that I did my part to lift and pull the team forward.
Well, we're very happy to have you, and I'm very happy I finally get to talk with you more. And I'm so excited for you to go to Wyoming. It looks like a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So, can you tell us about some of your earliest memories of video games? They can be related to Zelda, they can be related to non-Zelda titles.
Well, it has to start with Zelda just because that is, the I guess the game of my life, I would say. I was around maybe 7, 8 years old when Nintendo Entertainment System was brought into the household. And there's a lot of games. There was Mario. There was a game called Crystalis, I think it was. There was Gauntlet. There was all these old games that us old timers probably know. Um, but Zelda was a little bit different, and I think it was, because you always think of Mario and Zelda being the main two titles, and for a 7-year-old, Mario can get difficult pretty fast. That original game, did not pull the punches that these later versions of Mario does, and so I sort of struggled with it. But with Zelda, I was definitely able to. I could just walk around. I mean, that's what I did. I just basically walked around the entire map and fought bad guys. I wasn't interested or really, I think I beat the first level. But other than that, it was all about the exploration, all about the journey. Um, just sort of embracing that world around me. And then there's another video game. I can't even remember what it's called, which is really good for recording on a podcast. But it was this computer game. It was like you had to play it on a computer, and it was like grand. It was like a racing game, and it was just this 2-bit game, But it was the funnest thing, just going around this little track, But as a little kid, I mean, you pretend like you're racing. The graphics didn't matter because as a small child, our imagination filled in the gaps.
Oh, I really love that. And I think you've mentioned that in some of your blog posts before about graphics.
Yeah, well, the thing about I love graphics. Graphics are great. But I think it's the story and how it connects with you that really drives something forward. You can be the most beautiful game in the world, but if you don't make a connection with the player, are you really a game? Are you really, that's what the game's about is pulling you in. That's how I feel about it.
Have there been any games you tried just to try them and maybe you went in with low expectations, like, oh, I don't know if I'm really going to like this, but I'll try it, and it ended up surprising you in a pleasant way? I know I put
Hollow
you on
Knight.
the spot.
No, no, no. Well, I had to think about it, but I think Hollow Knight was one of them. You know, I always see these games that get these great reviews, and then I play them, and I'm just like, this wasn't as great as I thought it was. And I think with Hollow Knight, I was just like, this is just going to be another cheap knockoff kind of Metroidvania platformer. Um, and then, and if any of you out there listening have played it, you know that the story is actually super in depth. The art style is sort of haunting in nature. The game itself feels sort of tragic, and I found that really really spoke to me. And the next thing you know, I'm obsessed. I got all the downloadable content, which sometimes I get upset with downloadable content. I'm like, you could have given it to us, but I don't know if you know the history, but this was a small time group that was making this game. So the downloadable content was coming because they were trying to add to the game, not because they were trying to, make an extra dime. So, but each new layer, added to the story, added to the depth. And that game really surprised me and is now in my top faves.
Oh, I know you've told me, and I promise I will do my homework assignment, Carlos, and play Hollow Knight. I know he's shaking
I'm
his
not
head
old.
like,
I'm not
can't believe.
old.
I can't believe she's made me wait this long. But Dan Murphy with Boss Rush recently picked it up. And I'm not sure, I can't remember if it's his second time trying it, but now he's all in.
That's what
He's
I like.
loving it. Mm-hmm.
Well, and sometimes, when you go into a game and if it's a little different, it's hard, right? We get so used to playing games that start out the exact same way all the other games do. And then we as the fan base complain that we want something different. And when we get it, it's a little bit harder because we don't know what to do. But I find with a game like that, actually stopping and listening to the dialogue or getting the dialogue actually is what sort of helped me out, helped me really invest myself into it.
Now, are you someone who, with video games, do you like to talk to every single NPC, or do you just like to run and gun, so to speak? I just want to move through.
Um, Depends on the game. Like I would say, huh, using Zelda as an example, I'm a traditionalist where I'm just trying to get to the game because in my brain I'm telling myself, Zelda needs me. She doesn't need me to be doing these side quests. I'm on my way. And then I'll beat it, and then I'll come back, and then I'll do all the side quests and do all that stuff first. So
Okay. So,
yeah.
but okay, I have to pick on you a little bit because you're a big fan of Majora's Mask, which is one of my favorite games of all time. And I like to joke, but in a loving way, that it is side quest the game. So how do you feel about that? I know you love it. So did it kind of intimidate you at first? Did it irritate you at first?
Actually, it did. I remember the very first time I played it, I was expecting Ocarina Part 2, and it was definitely not Ocarina Part 2. I found myself, especially right at the beginning, when you're trying to catch those little boys, and I'm talking about the little kids that are
The
sort of,
bomber kid,
yeah, yeah.
bomber gang.
Oh, we're messing that up. But anyway, yeah. But those boys, and I'm just like this, and they hand me that little book, and I'm like, this is going to be the game. Like I have to go around and I wasn't necessarily thrilled, but I found that just the way it was set up, it worked. I just again sort of like any other game, you have to give it a chance first, And once I did, it was off to the races.
And your post about investigating who the or analyzing who the happy mask salesman could be is one of our most popular blog posts on AZP's website.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
It is.
I'm glad people enjoy it, right? We write these blog posts, and I do it because I want to share my passion with others. So I'm glad that people enjoyed that article. That one in particular was interesting just because it actually plays on some Japanese tradition and the fact that there is a historical and cultural value to masks in Japan. If you just play the game or you just deal with a happy mask salesman as a Westerner, perhaps you may not really understand the intrinsic nature or the value of the happy mask salesman. And so, actually getting to sort of deep dive, I learned more than I knew, uh, definitely about it, and it was just sort of interesting to see some of the parallels in the culture and then how it played out in the game.
I love that. I love the research you took into it. And you've been to Japan before, right?
Yes, yes. Very briefly, I was traveling through on my way home and was able to link up with my daughter who was there. And so, we just, spent some time together before I finished my transition home. So
What
it
did
was
you,
pretty
which part of Japan did you go to?
Tokyo.
Oh, so what was that like? What did you think about it, even though it was brief?
Clean, very clean. Like, there's no, and I thought it was awesome. Like there wasn't trash anywhere. Sometimes in the States we see a lot of littering, and it was just nice to sort of see a place that didn't have that issue. Also, people, despite me being in a place that's obviously foreign, were kind to me. I have never been well, I've been to other countries, but I've never been in a country like Japan where I couldn't even guess my way through the language or through the symbols. And so I'm trying to get a train ticket. I had no idea what I was doing. And, somebody saw me looking like a lost puppy and came over and was just sort of like, here's how you order, here's what you do. And they didn't have to do that. They could have just left me standing there. And I just thought that was really, really interesting. Also on the train, I actually saw, a couple people get up for some of the elderly to sit down, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. It was a really nice time.
Uh, I lived there 10 years ago. I taught English over there, and I agree with you with everything you're saying. Just, it is very easy to romanticize, and you go through a honeymoon period, and then there are things about another culture you start comparing it to what you miss back home, and there are things you dislike, but the things you're saying, I wish we all could do that better. I wish we all could be better, right? I wish we could take care of our little space in the world and treat our elders with more kindness.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, I was there for such a brief time, but those are sort of the things that just immediately jumped out to me. Also, had no idea that you taught English over there.
I
That's really cool.
did. It'll be 10 years in June that I left for my adventure there.
That's super interesting.
It was cool. Hey, that's well, you want to be closer to your family now. I think you're kind of done with, with that kind of travel, but it is something you could do with your English degree now, if you were so inclined. Take them with you.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I love sushi, so real
Yes.
sushi, not just fake sushi.
I agree. Well, are there any adventures you'd like to share about the different countries you've been to? Is there anything that sticks out the most in your mind about any of the places you've been to?
Um, well, I think each place sort of has a unique spin to it. I stopped into places like Dubai before, and just there's a beauty in the desert sometimes, and they obviously have some good financials in Dubai, and so just the buildings, the skyscrapers. I was out in Bahrain, same thing. Like the buildings, they build them so fast, and oh, I will tell you, if I had to pick anything, have you ever heard of a shawarma?
Shawarma, like the food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was one thing out there I miss is the chicken shawarmas. They were I have them here. I've had them, in the States, but there's just something about the way they make them out there that was just perfect though.
Oh, nothing like the real thing.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just interesting, different places, different countries, but essentially people for the most part are the same, and I think that's what I appreciate about all my travels is for all the differences and the people that I've met, it's the similarities, everyone's just trying to take care of their family. Everyone's just trying to put a roof over their head. And it's really awesome to get a chance to meet people.
It's a very humbling experience. And I love that you said we're all the same. We really, pretty much everybody has the same values at the end of the day. They want to take care of their loved ones, they want to leave the world a little bit better than they found it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, and anytime you go to a new place, you don't know what to expect. But everywhere I've gone, there's always going to be people that don't like it, but there's also going to be, for every one person that doesn't, there's two that do. And I've been helped out and ingratiated to a lot of nice people out there, and I just really appreciate all my travels. So.
So you're always such a positive person, and what helps you to stay positive despite maybe challenges or feelings of doubt, or if you're afraid?
Um, I think everyone has something, right? We all have to have one thing that we can hold on to be that driving force. Some people, I know someone that they use their grandfather. Their grandfather is their inspiration, so they do that. For me, it's my family. I think using my family is sort of like my pillar, my fallback on, everything I do is for them. Um, so whether it's my job or whether it's in personal struggles or whether it's in trying to get that blog in on time for Celeste so she doesn't beat me up, it's just leaning on the things that matter most. That's what drives my fire anyway.
I think a lot of people could relate to you with that.
Yeah,
So do
I mean,
you, yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go.
No, please.
I Is that something you see in the Zelda series that speaks to you?
Well, yes, I mean it's 100%. So Zelda at its core is about, a young hero that necessarily isn't starting out as a hero. You go back to that first game, you're just a person standing sort of in a field or canyony area, and it isn't until you take that step, it isn't until you grab that sword, it isn't until, you start that journey that you become the hero. And I think that's what really is wonderful about Zelda because, it's about someone who could be anyone deciding to take that step and journey forth and do great things. Um, I think in general, fantasy along those lines, when I was a kid, like, Sword in the Stone, anything to do with King Arthur, um, but they all have that where it's, this plucky young hero that doesn't know that they're a hero yet. And then, they just keep driving forward. And Zelda really, really does that.
Is there a Zelda game that comes to your mind in particular that does that the best or in a way that's most impactful?
I think it's really easy to push button Ocarina. One, obviously, it's one of the highest rated video games of all time. Um, but I think what really did it in Ocarina is, the depth of dialogue and discussion. I mean, because Link starts out as this little orphan boy, all alone, sort of an outlier from his own village, and then he, makes that journey to the Great Deku Tree, and so it begins for him. And I think his growth and transition in that story, I think really speak out a lot. I mean, because he didn't have to help Zelda when she was asking him to in the courtyard, but he did. As a small child, he still, stood for what was right and moved forward.
I love that. And I always wondered what his life was like before that point in time. What was it like as he was growing up as a toddler? What was it like when he was a little kid before was about 10 years old?
Yeah, I mean, it really seems as if he was tolerated in some circles and then not so tolerated in others. Just based on some of the exchanges with different characters, it really seemed like he was just sort of alone.
Yeah, and I was about 9 or 10 when that game came out, and um, this I know it's going to sound all mushy gushy, but it really spoke to me because there were some kids at school who weren't very nice to me, And then there were some who were very nice to me, like Saria. And it really affected me playing that game. It really inspired me to keep pushing on, just do your best. There are people out there who believe in you.
Well, I agree because, I remember being a kid and, I think as children, we all are trying to find our way. And when I was able to sort of transport myself into these video games like Zelda, I got to be the strong one. I got to be the hero. I got to be the one that figured out a way to succeed. And, I think it's sort of comforting to be able to do that. And I think it also encourages you in a sort of subconscious kind of way. Because when we're little kids, a lot of times, our voices aren't heard as well, right? We're young, we don't know what we're talking about. We're probably annoying at times. You're not annoying kids. But, sometimes the things we say can be sort of, brushed to the side. But when you're in that video game, you're the hero. And, it's sort of empowering.
So I didn't ask this at the beginning, but you're making me wonder, what inspired you to join the military? Was it that desire to contribute and to do good work?
I wish I could say yes, but actually it was for college money. I initially, um, I was trying to figure out a way to be able to pay for school. And I was also trying to find, sort of direction in life. When you're 17, 18, you have no idea what you want to do. Heck, I probably didn't understand what I wanted to do until I was like 25, really. Um, and then, I've always had a great respect for the military. I've always appreciated the military. So I looked into joining the Navy, and they had some specialties that dealt with medicine. And I thought, well, if I can help people and get money for school. So I actually had never planned on staying in. I was like, I'm going to do my first couple years, and then I'm out, hit the road. But you know, one thing leads to another, and it all worked out. So it started for school, but in the end, it ended up being about the camaraderie of the people around me, and it feels good to be a part of something sometimes.
What are some of the biggest challenges working in the medical field of the military?
Um, I would say uncertainty a lot of times. Uh, I've had the pleasure of being able to go on like emergency response calls in the States, just as a part of an exercise I got to be a part of. That feels a lot more controlled. I mean, because we're here. But I think sometimes when we're away, the dynamics and the situation can change very rapidly. Um, and so, the resources you start off with and the resources you end up needing may change on a dime. And I think that can cause or that can be difficult to manage, but we do. So always have a backup plan to the backup plan.
I know the feeling. That is a piece of advice that we can all take in all aspects of our life. What about the most rewarding aspects of being in that part of the military?
Um, I would say making a difference. Obviously in my field, our job is to help people and patch them up and put them back together. And lucky enough, I've had the opportunity to help uh, military members, civilians, all sorts of people. And um, when you see, that you made a difference, when you see that everything's going to be okay, I think that's a huge impact. That's what we want to do. Like we're here to help. Um, and so anytime you succeed in that endeavor, it's a big deal. Heartwarming.
Oh,
I remember having a little kid shake my hand and say thank you one time, and just that little thing that made it all worth it. So
oh, I'm gonna cry on this episode.
time to switch it up. Remix.
But no, that is so sweet. It's very humbling, and I think it's good to remember that no matter who you're, I hate to say it, but sometimes there are adversarial type people in our lives, or people who don't believe in us, people who may be miserable, so they try to want to bring us down because misery loves company. So it is really nice to remember there are people in your corner, there are people who love you, there are people who care about you and want you to succeed.
Yeah. Well, and a big part of my job is the team. And I think since you've known me, I'm always talking about the team because that's really what it's all about. Nobody gets through their job, their life, their journey alone. We all have a team that we rely on. Maybe the team's big, maybe the team's small, but we still have a team. Nobody crosses that finish line alone.
That's very true. Gosh, I always say if I'm the smartest person in the room, we're in big trouble.
Well, in my experience, you usually are, so I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, well, you're very kind. Don't make me do a math problem, please. I can't help you with that.
Okay. So editing, you got. Math, not so much. I'm trying.
Yes, I can do, 1 plus 1, that kind of stuff. Well, but what are some of your favorite moments in video game history at all? Like, were there moments of game or system releases or magazines or movies that are very special to you?
Well, there's two that really stand out in my mind. Um, One was with Final Fantasy VII. I remember playing that through the very first time, and I remember when Aerith died. Sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't played it. It's been 20 years, guys. But when Sephiroth came through the ceiling, that was like the worst moment. I actually had to put down the controller and like walk away because I was so upset at the game because I had no idea that that's what was going to happen. That Aerith was going to unfortunately meet her demise. Ruined me. Absolutely ruined me.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever played Final Fantasy VII?
Okay, I haven't actually played any Final Fantasy games, Carlos.
All right. Well, this has been a nice interview. I really
No,
enjoyed it.
they're on my list. They are on my list. It's
Well,
not that I've poo-pooed them, so to speak. There are so many games in so little time. I know.
seven, seven's the one. Seven is the one you got to do.
Have
If
you
you
played
have,
the remake or the remaster?
no, I haven't. I have my blocky, poor graphic memories. I'll hold on to those.
Oh, so you're not planning on playing the remake?
I might someday. But just like you, I have a huge library of games that I promise that I'll get through. I'm apt to buy a game, but then not play it because I already have so many other games that I need to get through.
It's
Um,
kind of like books.
yeah. Oh, same way, same way. Uh, Another video game moment, actually, probably my favorite, was the reveal of Twilight Princess. Uh, that it's just the energy, because you have the room, you have the music start playing, and you have the crowd, and when the crowd realizes what the game is, they realize it's Twilight Princess. I mean, it erupts, and I just remember that was like an amazing time.
I love that game.
Hmm. Yeah, if you can go on YouTube if you haven't seen the reveal video. I mean, it'll give you goosebumps for sure.
Do you like Twilight Princess?
I do. I do, and it's interesting, my relationship with Twilight Princess. So, and I think I put this in a blog post. Um, I really wanted, a more serious adult Zelda game, like a more mature take, and instead we got Wind Waker, I believe is what we got at the time. I was upset, and the reason I was is because there was a Space World Expo, and they had shown like a little demo. And in this demo, you have Link, which is all graphicked up. It's Ganon. He throws down his shield, and they charge each other, and it looked beautiful. And the next thing you know, I get this cell shaded, windpipe blowing game, and I'm just like, what is this? And so it was just funny because then when I got Twilight Princess, I enjoyed it. I really really loved it. But in the end, I actually end up appreciating Wind Waker more. So it's interesting. I wanted Twilight Princess, but then I ended up loving, Wind Waker. So,
What do you love about Wind Waker the most?
well, actually, it has, and I again back to the blogs. I think I wrote about this, but it has one of the most amazing endings, and actually mature endings in the entire series. To have, a Hyrule Castle that is basically stuck in time and flooded, and the world essentially has been destroyed. You're in this sort of post-apocalyptic world, and then you have this final showdown under the ocean as the world is collapsing around you. Um, and it's you and Zelda actively involved, Zelda actively participating in the battle, which I thought was awesome. I like to see her more engaged. I mean, she is Zelda after all. Um, and then just that ending, when he put the sword into Ganon and Ganon basically turned into stone. And so it was almost like a full circle because now the sword was in the stone. And I don't know, that was incredible. Also sad, by the way, when he reached out, to the king and their fingers almost touched, but they didn't. And it was incredible. The story was incredible.
And help my memory, because I don't know if this was like a rumor, because the internet was around when that game came out, but you also kind of relied on people just talking to people as well. This was like 2003 or so. And I remember a friend told me the reason the creators did cell shading was because Link is a child in that game. He's about 12 years old, and they wanted the game to feel as though you're looking through a child's eyes. Have you ever heard that?
No, no, I haven't. I thought it was because they wanted to do more expressiveness, but I mean, that sounds plausible as well. The one thing about Nintendo is they definitely go to the beat of their own drum, and they don't hesitate to sort of go out on a tree limb. Look at Zelda 2. They don't hesitate to go out on a tree limb and experiment and do something different. And for all of us naysayers, me included, I was a huge enemy of Wind Waker. Now I'm in love with it. So it looks like Nintendo was right.
I love that game as well. And you brought up how Zelda's more involved. You actually also have a blog post about how you want to play as Zelda.
Yeah, I think we're at a point where we can tell stories from multiple directions. And I think Zelda is a dynamic enough kind of character and a strong female character that I think we could definitely tell a story from her perspective. There's a manga, and I've never read it, but I remember seeing a picture, and it was basically Link chained up. And I think Zelda was on her way to rescue him. And I just think that'd be a cool story. Another one would be like, what if we retold Ocarina, but we retold it from Zelda's perspective as Sheik, her journey. Because if you think about it, supposedly during that game, there was like a dual quest going on, and she had her own roles that she was doing, her own adventures. And I think you could capture that without diminishing Link's role or changing his purpose, but basically tell her story. And I'm telling you, Nintendo, listen to me. If you told the crowd that they could play as Sheik, it's over.
Oh my gosh. I think I would purposely take off of work that day if they made that game just so I could play it, because okay, she what is she doing while you're exploring? She's obviously like the eyes and ears of Hyrule for you. She's following you around. Okay, I have to know. What do you think about it when, spoiler, but the game is 24 years old now, when Sheik reveals herself to be Zelda in the Temple of Time, which is not that far from now Ganondorf's castle. I mean, well, I don't know. I was like, why? Why here? Come on. You're so close.
Well, and I was, as a kid, I was not expecting it. And so I was completely, what? This whole time? And I'm sure it was obvious maybe to somebody else, but to me, I was completely blown away. But I agree. It's like, she was obviously doing stuff this entire time. You can go through her journey to become Sheik. What kind of trials and tribulations did you have to go through? And then, her journey all the way up until the end, I think would be impressive. And yeah, why reveal there? You could have revealed anywhere, Zelda. Why there? Where he's at his strongest, again.
I know. I know. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to your blog post about playing as Sheik.
Okay.
And
All right.
I want you to I'm looking forward to your whole explanation of what the game is going to be like. So that's your homework assignment.
Got it. And then I'll email it to Nintendo of America and see if they'll bite on it.
You might have to lawyer up first. But- so you get the credit for it.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other projects or pursuits aside from video games and writing? And you obviously like hiking and nature.
Yeah. I mean, really, those are sort of the centers of my world. I write stories all the time. I've been trying to finish a book. I don't necessarily care if it gets published, but it's just one of those things where, I've been putting things down for so long that I just want to finish it at some point. Um, but other than that, I love contributing, obviously, to AZP. Um, and that really is sort of what fulfills me on my day-to-days. When I go hiking, we also go camping sometimes. We like to backpack out and just sort of, I'm talking camping, like, living on the dirt and stuff for a while. So it's what I'm all about.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yeah.
you want to share any
Not
camping
glamping,
adventures?
not glamping,
Glamping.
not glamping. Yeah.
Not glamping. Okay, so I am spoiled and I have to have air conditioning and I have to have some conveniences. I know, I can't even picture doing what you're doing, the roughing it.
Well, I think there's a difference when, again, I told you I'm super into nature, and I don't know, something about being surrounded by some tall trees and sort of hearing the sounds of night really is relaxing. The stars are beautiful when you get away from the city. You can actually see the stars, and it's
Hmm.
incredible. But glamping's fine too,
I,
running water. There's nothing wrong.
so do you have any humorous anecdotes about camping? Like something went wrong or something funny happened?
Oh, something always goes wrong. I mean, I remember one time I took out the family, and maybe this isn't necessarily funny to the listener, and it wasn't funny to my wife and kids either. When I forgot all the stuff, like I brought the stuff for pancakes, but there was no syrup, there was no butter, there was no, so everyone's just sitting here eating these dry, like biscuit-like pancakes because I forgot half the ingredients. I think when you're camping, that's half the problem is not you always forget something. There is always the one thing you forget every time.
Do you have any tips for someone who is thinking about camping your way?
Make sure you have enough water and bug repellent. Bug repellent, bug repellent, bug repellent. Also, it gets colder than you think it's going to get. Yeah, that's a lot of times people don't bring enough warming layers. It's always good to layer. Um, that way you can take off, put on, depending on the temperature, and then there's something about bug spray that just really makes your day go by a little bit better.
Have you ever run into any wild animals while camping?
Oh yeah, and not just camping, just on these little adventures that we go on. I'll take my kids or my wife and kids, and we'll go out there. But I mean, we've run into bighorn sheep, just like hanging out on the side of a mountain. Coyotes. I remember one time I was almost bit by a rattlesnake, uh, but my dog had I guess sensed it or smelt it and sort of jumped in front of me, and so at the last second we turned away. So um, especially coyotes, there's a lot of coyotes out there, and they're not necessarily they're shy, but they're not that shy. Sometimes they'll pop out so you could see them.
Oh my gosh. It's interesting you mentioned coyotes because my family lives on a little quiet street kind of in the country, and every now and then they'll get coyotes.
Mm. Well, and protect your dogs because they'll go for them.
Yes, they're not quite like Wile E. Coyote. I was kind of hoping that's how they would be like, but they're a little bit stronger than that, a little bit smarter.
Yeah, no, they're good at tricking dogs to follow them, because they'll find a bigger dog, and the bigger dog will chase them, the one coyote by itself, and then you'll have more coyotes that sort of hiding in the bushes, and or they can scale some walls, I'll tell you, and get little dogs out of backyards and stuff. So yeah, you
Oh,
definitely gotta watch it.
oh my gosh. Do you have any camping trips planned or coming up?
I do. So I'm actually going to be, because I'm separated from my family right now. So for the summer, I'm grabbing my son, and then he's going to come spend a month or two with me out here in California, and we're going to go up into the mountains out here and do some camping, maybe some fishing, that kind of stuff.
What is the most beautiful place you've camped in?
I would say there's a place called Big Bear out here,
Okay.
um, and it's the mountain is Mount San Gorgonio. I guess the city out there is called Big Bear, but um, there's a large lake, and you just have all these pine trees, and the view is beautiful. Um, it's just very serene, very, the sun rises, you get that reflection, you hear the birds chirping. It's beautiful, especially when you have blooms, like the flower blooms.
Oh, I love San Diego a lot. I love the Japanese Friendship Garden
Hmm.
in Balboa Park. So when you said blooms, that's what came to my mind, the cherry blossoms.
Well, actually, out there's a place called Anza, and every now and then they'll have what's called a super bloom, and it's this area of just like fields and hills and mountain like kind of area, and then all of a sudden all the flowers will bloom at the same time, and it's incredible. It's and the thing is you have to time it because once that bloom starts, it only lasts for like 2 weeks, and so I think they get a lot of their tourism during that period.
Are there any national parks or areas in the US that you would like to visit that you haven't yet?
Yellowstone, 100%. And since I'm going to live in Wyoming, it'll be a 4-hour drive away. So I've been my whole life. I've wanted to, it's a super volcano. I don't know if you knew that, but it's a super volcano, and I just think it would be interesting to be at such a place that has so much life, both above and below the surface.
Isn't there, aren't some scientists saying that if Yellowstone has a massive blowout, a lot of us are screwed big time?
Oh, 100%. 100. It's the largest volcano in the world. So, but see, that's why I moved closer, because if it does blow, I don't even feel it. I'm gone.
You're
I don't have to worry about it. Cash, nothing.
I love it. I love how this turned morbid, but also optimistic at the same time. Yeah, I don't know which part of Mother Nature I want to deal with more. I guess that's something I've been reflecting on a lot lately, and there's something everywhere, right? You just have to be prepared and do your best.
Well, do you like water? I mean,
Um, like I drink it, but no, I know what you're saying. I like swimming. I've You mean like living on the water, like in a hut or something that's raised?
based on the information you've given me, the perfect place for you to experience nature would be on your couch watching National Geographic.
Oh, I feel like this is the roast Celeste episode.
No, I'm just
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I do want to go to some national parks. I do like nature. It's one of my favorite things to do is on a quiet Sunday morning. I like to take my coffee and I like to go sit outside on my patio on the swing and just enjoy the serenity.
Yeah, one of the things I want to build at my house is like this sort of back deck, and I want to put like a little hot tub because it gets cold there, and so I'd like to be in cold weather but in hot water. That's sort of, I don't know, it's a thing.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it
Uh,
snows a lot there, so that'd be nice to sort of be in snow but in really boily, bubbly kind of water. I don't know.
so snow, it doesn't really snow in San Diego. So is this going to be new for you?
No, so I lived in Chicago for a short period of time, a couple years. I was stationed out there, and it snowed a lot. So I actually learned how to drive in the snow. Um, I'd gotten my license while I was out there, and that was interesting. Yeah,
Oh,
don't hit the brakes. You just keep going. I'll tell you, I
what?
found that out the hard way in the snow.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I've never driven in snow like that before.
Oh, well, I think it's when it turns to ice. I think that's when it gets a little dangerous. But well, my family's out there. They're all from Southern California, and they love the snow. They play in the snow. I mean, it even makes it more beautiful. If you could make nature more beautiful, put a little layer of snow on it, and that'll do it.
That's awesome. Well, how can listeners support you, Carlos? Where can they find you?
Well, I definitely have my Twitter account, the Lost Hylian, at Twitter, obviously, and the same thing for Instagram. You can find me there. But really, if you want to support me, and I would appreciate it, check out Another Zelda Podcast. You have my blog, you have my teammates' blog. There's a bunch of amazing content, cool T-shirts, and we obviously have the podcast as well. And if you're a Zelda fan, there's no better place to be to find community, friendship. Um, it's amazing. So that's how you can support me.
And do you have any other pursuits going on that you want to talk about? Any other creative pursuits? I know you like to write, like you said.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely trying to sort of expand my horizons a little bit. I've been helping other people out with putting together sort of storyboard planning and things along that nature. I got a couple friends that are into plays and stuff like that, but they've been needing help sort of with somebody to, I guess, turn what they want the dialogue to be into sort of more of a script kind of nature. So I've been
Mhm.
helping along with that. Um, and other than that, I think it's just I've been really trying to increase my social media interaction. I think being gone for so long, I sort of took my foot off the gas pedal a little bit, but definitely trying to get in more on that, and then also write more articles, not just about Zelda, but I've been trying to, put together some stuff about other Nintendo games. I'm a huge Nintendo fan, and that's sort of been my focus.
I have to ask, what inspired the name The Lost Helion?
Well, all the other cool names were taken. No,
It is a cool name.
well, so what actually made me think about it was in Link's Awakening. When he's walking through the woods, he finds Marin's father just lost in the woods, and he's just sitting there. I think he's looking for mushrooms or something like that. And I just thought about the fact that he was sort of just out there in the middle of nowhere, and that's sort of how I am with Zelda. I get lost in these games. It's like I go off on this journey, and I just let the world surround me, and so that's just sort of how I found the name.
Well, I hope you can get lost in Breath of the Wild 2 very soon.
Oh, don't we all? Don't we all?
I truly might take off the day that game comes out and not talk to anybody for at least 24 hours.
I would just I'll probably take a trip, go get a hotel room where I'm just by myself, order 12 pizzas, and we'll call it good.
I miss that. I have some fond memories of Zelda, especially. I have fond memories of games where it's a Saturday, you don't have anything to do, and you can truly just immerse yourself in a video game.
Yeah, no, especially for some reason, even though it was like the worst controller ever, the GameCube controller, I miss it sometimes. I don't know.
I love it. I love it too. I find it very ergonomic.
Yeah, it's just, but you had that one side you never really used.
Oh, okay. For like the left side or the right side?
Yeah, it was like I guess it would be the far left because you use like the center and the right.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
But
Okay, you're bringing back memories.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Carlos, is there anything else you'd like to tell listeners today, or any advice?
Uh, no, but I do want to say thank you. I mean, the opportunity to, share a little bit about myself and share a little bit about my passion for the Legend of Zelda and video games in general. I really appreciate it. And the fact that you and any of the listeners out there that have taken interest in my blogs, please feel free to shoot a message out to me. I'm open to write about, any video game topic or whatever interests you. I think sometimes we grow as players and as people by learning what people are interested in when it comes to these games. I may like the fact that, Link got the sword, but, maybe there's somebody who's obsessed with every boomerang that's ever been in a Zelda game, and I just think that's how we grow together. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.
Oh, thank you, Carlos. I appreciate you taking some time and letting people get to know you a little bit better. Welcome home. I'm happy that you can connect more with everybody, and I'm excited for you to join your family in Wyoming again soon. So everyone, you can find Carlos on Twitter and Instagram at The Lost Helion. Please read his blogs on AnotherZeldaPodcast.com. They're very creative. They're very thought-provoking. And you can find more 1v1 interviews like this, along with the other Another Zelda Podcast crew, and Boss Rush's other podcasts at bossrush.net. And you can follow me on Twitter at FairyCrypt. So until next time, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.